at business school, and I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out how to set up my system for today and make sure that everything's working the way it's supposed to work. If you give me 1 second, I am going to put some stuff together to make sure this gets shared and all this good stuff. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. If you're on Facebook, let me know if you can hear me. I know that everybody on Periscope can hear me because y'all just hear everything. People on Periscope, they just seem to know all. I'm here in Florida. I'm here, sunny Florida, Jensen Beach to be exact, and it is awesome. Let me see here. Interesting. Okay. Let me see here. Let me do a couple of things so we can get it cracking. Um, anyway, if while I'm doing this real quick, if you could you please share this to your page? Let other people know that the conversation's going down. I think that you would agree with me that most black people who really want to know what's going on, who really want to understand the world, should be here having these kinds of conversations. But unfortunately, the internet sometimes gets hijacked by craziness and coonery, and people will show you all the latest dances and tell you all kinds of jokes, but they won't teach you things that you need to know in order to be successful. And that's part of what keeps us where we are and not where we want to be. I saw Angie Tweets in there. How you doing, Angie Tweets? Angie Tweets. I think I think Angie Tweets might be my internet girlfriend. She comes in so often, and I appreciate you so much, Angie Tweets. I love you, sister, and I want to say thank you so much for your support. Anybody who's very consistent with having our back, you have no idea what that means to me because there are a lot of people that don't, they don't want to hear this stuff. They really want to, get into whatever the latest fads are and whatever. And the problem with that is that if you don't do things in your life to prepare for your future, then you're going to be victimized by your own actions, right? You have a lot of people where they live life feeling like victims, but they don't understand that they're both the victim and the perpetrator. And so when you constantly defer discomfort, which a lot of people do, deferring discomfort to me means I want to feel good today because all I'm thinking about is today, because all I got is today, and it's all I'm worried about is today. Then later on down the line, when there are consequences for not making certain decisions, when you've missed out on opportunities, when you didn't make investments in your life and in your future, you find yourself feeling like, oh, everybody's getting ahead but me. Oh, I'm missing out. Or, oh, this is so wrong. Everybody's treating me bad and the world is doing this and doing that to me. But, what we got to understand is that, our life really is a portrait and we are the painter. Your life, everything about your life is this painting. And for some people, it's a beautiful painting. For some people, it's a complete mess. It's a nightmare on canvas. And whether that painting is beautiful or not so beautiful, we make that decision. Now, those on Facebook, give me a quick, like I can hear you or I can hear you and see you, something like that, to let me know that the transmission is going through. Andrea says, oh, you're cheating on me with Angie Tweets. No, well, you know what? I love you both. And I appreciate you both very much. And I appreciate the brothers as well. Angie Tweets just said I had him first. Oh Lord, y'all making me blush. Okay, so anyway, do me a favor. I haven't seen anybody on Facebook yet tell me that you can actually hear me, and just give me a confirmation that you can hear me, and that'll let me know that I'm coming through loud and clear, and then we can kind of jump into the conversation that we're going to have today. I kind of feel like black people, this is something that I've really, really reiterated as the Christmas holidays have hit, or the Thanksgiving holidays hit, and the other holidays are coming after that. Get in the habit in your family. Okay, all right. So Amarna, Shanice, and Clay and Terry have all said, I can hear you, I can see you and hear you, etc. That's what I'm talking about. That's all I needed. Because if you've been around for a while, you've seen me embarrass myself where I would get online and start talking, and I'm really going in, I'm really going at it. and the audio's like off. The audio's dead. And I'm sitting there watching. In fact, I remember I was talking about something. I forgot what it was. And there were thousands of people watching at one time. And I saw the numbers just plummeting, 2,000, 1,500, 1,300. I was like, why is everybody leaving? Does my breath stink? Like, what happened? And it turned out that I was talking to myself. So I literally gave the best speech in the world to myself. So that taught me a lesson about checking the audio. Sometimes your most embarrassing situations are your best opportunities to learn. I learned my best and most valuable lessons from when I screw up the most. I'm telling you, disappointment, failure, whatever you want to call it, humiliation, setbacks. Those are the best teachers. That's the best university that you'll ever attend. Because I think it was Maya Angelou who said, we don't always remember what someone said, but we always remember how they made us feel. Well, the same thing is true about situations, right? You may not remember what happened, but you remember how you felt, right? So, when you have those feelings, when you go through those setbacks, I want to encourage you to understand that, that these setbacks are there for a reason. And every time you pay a cost, every time you pay a big price, that can either be an expense, just like in accounting. It can either be an expense or it can be an investment. An expense or an investment. An expense is when you spend the money and it's gone. You just write it off. It was a loss. You're done. An investment means I put out something of value, some money, some whatever. Maybe I lost $3,000 on a business deal. But an investment means that I can capitalize that. Now that I have spent this money or lost this money, whatever it is that I feel like I did, that's $3,000 worth of valuable information that I have that I'm going to keep with me for the rest of my life. And so how do you extract the difference? How do you know the difference? Well, a lot of times it comes down to digging for the lesson in everything that we go through. You go through tough experiences. We all do. We all go through pain. Whether it's, when you start your business and you fail, you have a relationship and it doesn't work out, or you set a goal and don't accomplish it, or you just make a terrible mistake. And, what first thing we do is we get caught up in our feelings, right? We start feeling bad and feeling sorry for ourselves. Like, oh, why did that girl leave me? I loved it in her so much. And, the business, I just can't do it. I listened to Dr. Boyce. He told me I should start a business, and now I did it, and I lost $10,000. Whatever it is, right? So get in your feelings, cry it out, feel emotional, feel bad. But as you're feeling bad, or after you finally come back to your senses, take some time to, to reflect. Take some time to research, and research your own memory in terms of sort of what went down. Break down the whole sequence. Like, okay, why did I make that decision? Okay, why did I like that girl in the first place? Well, I liked her because she had long, pretty hair, and I liked the pretty hair. And she blah, 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 blah. So why did I miss out on the fact that, that she, whatever, that she was a lying, cheating dog, or whatever it is that you're mad about, whatever makes you mad, you got to reflect on that, because then that's how you learn, because we all repeat ourselves. We all have habits and patterns that we're not aware of. The deep mystery of who we are as people is something that most of us never truly find out or explore, because we're so busy sort of just living and moving forward and making the same mistake over and over again. But when you take that time and really replay it in your head over 1,000 times, you have insights that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So then you can move forward as a wiser person. Same thing is true with business. So long story short, that's a method I've always used in everything in my life. Every investment I make. And remember, if you follow me when I talk about investing, you know that one fundamental thing you know about investing, or you should know it now, or you're going to know it in 30 seconds, is that most investments we make have nothing to do with money. Most investments we make are not financial. Most wealth that we have has nothing to do with a dollar bill, right? Let me give you an example. What if I offered you $1 million to chop off your left leg? Would you take it? Not if you got any sense. Most of y'all wouldn't do that. Or if I offered you $1 million to give me 10 years of your life. If you're 33, you give me $1 million, and then tomorrow you're going to be 43. So you're giving away a decade of your life for $1 million cash. Would you be 10 years older, 20 years older right now for $1 million? Maybe $2 million, maybe $5 million. No, you wouldn't. Would you trade your relationship with your mother? If you love your mother and you talk to your mom once a week, whatever, twice a week, would you give away your mother for $3 million. Most of you wouldn't, unless you hate your mama, in which case you need to go see a therapist. The point of this is to say that most of the things that we have that are wealth, most of the things that we invest have nothing to do with money. You sitting here listening to me right now is an investment that you're making, but you're probably not spending any money. Why? Well, because I decided to hop on and do this conversation on Facebook. Now, if you take a class from me, if you're part of the Black Wealth Bootcamp, that's an investment in both time and money, right? But it's an investment that you expect to have a payoff. If you want to get ahead in life, any young person listening, any older person listening, if you want to get ahead in life, the best way to get ahead is always thinking like an investor. When you get something now, in the present, I'm not looking for the harvest in what I just received. I'm looking for the seeds. I'm looking for the seeds that will give me a bigger harvest later on. What does that mean? That means I get $1,000. I'm not thinking, oh, well, what can I go buy for this 1,000? How can I go run up to the store and go, give my money to some European corporation that doesn't care about me? I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking, man, how can I take this 1,000 and turn this into $1,000 a month? How can I breed this money? That's it's literally financial breeding. Like, I think that should be a term, right? How do you breed that money? Like, right? Like, think about it. Imagine if you have a beautiful dog and you love the dog, but it is great. But if you need money, you might say, wait a minute, I got this beautiful dog. This dog can make other dogs. So how do I breed this dog? Right? People that breed their dogs make a lot of money if they have nice dogs. So what I would just say in general is that you want to get in the habit of breeding your money, breeding your wealth, breeding whatever you own so that you can turn it into something more valuable. So every day I'm breeding my time. I invest time working every day to do what I love so that later on I will have more of what I value. More of what I value. I'll have more time. I'll have more resources. I'll have a greater ability to have an impact. I'll have all these things. And if you want to know why, if you want to know what drives me a lot of times, am I on a power kick or a money kick? Absolutely. I'm on a paper chase, but not because I care that much about money. I don't want fancy stuff. I don't want fancy cars and big houses and all that stuff. Don't mean anything to me. I'm on a paper chase because I can see so many areas where I can help so many people, where we can change so many lives, we can change so much in our community if we have access to resources, if we pull everything together and we work hard together as a community. There's so much opportunity. There's so many things we could do that will be so miraculous. And so every day I'm always thinking, how do I really empower people? First of all, how do you persuade people to even know that this wealth conversation is even relevant? That's the first step, right? A lot of people don't even think it matters, even though money affects every single thing that's happening in their life. Every problem they have can be linked back to money, damn near, but they don't see it. They don't understand the connection between investing in the information and the knowledge and actually how it affects their day-to-day life. But if you really analyze most people's problems, a lot of those problems can be helped with money. They may not be completely solvable with money, but they can be helped with money. But instead, a lot of times what we're tempted to do is we're trained to believe that we can't do anything. So what happens is you start to feel depression, which is nothing. Depression is nothing but anger turned inward. Anger turned inward. And why do you turn it inward instead of outward? Well, you turn it inward because you believe that being angry about the issue or you attacking the problem isn't going to solve the problem. So instead what you do is you simply just fall for the temptation to feel sorry for yourself, right? So you whine and moan and get sad, and maybe you go to church and your pastor says, well, here, give me $20 and we can pray away your problems or whatever. And it's fine. You can go to church. Ain't nothing wrong with going to church. Everybody should be spiritual. Church and prayer is a kind of meditation anyway, in my opinion. I believe it's a form of meditation that channels into certain kinds of energy that exists in the universe that we do not yet understand. So I think that there is something to be said about how the meditated mind that's at peace is better able to manifest the realities that you seek to desire. So, whether you pray and I meditate or whatever it is, we're all kind of doing the same thing. We're all channeling into higher powers that exist beyond ourselves to sort of put us in more alignment with nature and with the world and with the universe, which therefore will manifest the things that you want to see come to fruition. Right. So I'm not making fun of that, but I am saying that sometimes, though, you got these bootleg pastors who just will sell you a dream, sell you a lie, sell you, I'm going to sell you tickets to heaven. You ain't got no tickets to heaven, fool. You ain't no damn ticket master. Like, you can't sell me access to the afterlife. right? You can't sell that to me. You don't own that. That's not yours. You're selling me a bridge that belongs to somebody else. And what's interesting to me as well is that, and this might be my tiny issue with some of the pastors, not the good ones. There's a lot of good ones. Like, pastors are a little bit like cops, right? You hear people talk about good cops and bad cops, and I do believe that there are cops who want to try to do the right thing. I just know too many cops to say anything different. But but a lot of times you get some pastors that just really sell you hope, which makes you feel better, but it isn't the same as actually solving a problem. Hoping that the problem gets better really doesn't make the problem go away. Feeling better about a problem is, maybe it releases some endorphins and some dopamine in your brain to make you feel relaxed and feel a sense of comfort. But sometimes that sense of comfort is really a false sense of security. It's not real. It's not an actual tangible benefit. It is just simply a drug. But it's not a drug that you ingest. It's not like cocaine or heroin that you put inside your veins. It's a drug that leads to sensory perception, which adjusts the chemicals in your mind to make you feel more relaxed and feel better about something, even though there may be nothing to feel better about because you didn't actually do anything, right? It's like if there's some killers that are coming to my house and they're about to kill me and the people I care about, and I get nervous about it, and somebody says, no, don't worry, the killers ain't coming. I'm gonna ask God to put a magic shield in front of your house that's gonna block the bullets so the killers won't kill you. And if I believe you, then I'm gonna feel comfortable. I'm gonna feel a sense of calm. But really, that might be a false sense of security that ultimately gets me killed because I did not actually go and do some of what I needed to do, which was to pick up my gun or get the hell up out of there, right? And I think that's the problem. I think that when you don't have anybody sort of giving you constructive action, really empowering you to realize, like, hey, we're gonna pray. We're gonna really pray about how this works out. We're gonna pray that this works out in your favor. But at the same time, we're gonna make sure you get ready. We're gonna first of all, here's a gun. Here's a tactical strategy on how we're gonna fight when they come through the door. Here's how we can exit out the back door to get away. Like, I got to do that. After I pray with you, I need to give you a strategy. I need to give you something really to pray about, because if you're praying about nothingness, then nothingness plus nothingness leads to nothingness, and it leads to vulnerability. It reminds me of there was an Indian tribe I remember reading about. It was actually in a Ken Burns documentary. Ken Burns he's a white dude. He does the best documentaries about history. This guy's really good. And he did and I love to watch his documentaries, honestly, because it gives me insights into white people. Like, I've always been fascinated with America, how America came to be, not just in terms of slavery and black folks, but also, what did the white man do to get so much power? What is his sort of MO? What is his angle? How does he think? What does he do that, and again, after I get out of my feelings, see, I think a lot of times we feel emotional or we feel upset or we feel hurt by another party when we feel we're vulnerable to them. But I don't feel vulnerable to the white man. I see the white men who don't like me, I see them as competition. I see it as, okay, well, all right, so let me understand your strategy so that I can help my people fight back. I can help my people stand strong just like you, right? So I love to analyze and study this history. So I was watching this documentary, and it was all about how basically the government and the white men kind of running everything, we're literally obliterating the Native Americans. We're going in and taking their land and pushing them into reservations and going in and slaughtering them wholesale. I mean, it was a mess. It was a complete mess. We know the history, right? We know what they did to Native Americans. We know what they've done to black people. But it was interesting because there was one battle in particular that was really interesting. Because, now, mind you, the Native Americans wasn't no punks. They didn't sit back and just let people take from them. Many of them fought back. They had men and strong women in the community who said, this is wrong. These people are not going to come take our land. They're not going to come destroy our community. But then you also had certain people who had other tactics to fight back that weren't so successful. And there was one particular battle where there was a religious leader who convinced everybody in the tribe to wear a special cloth that would block the white man's bullets. He literally went into the tribe and talked to the masses of people who knew the white men were coming with guns. And he told them that if you pray to the gods and wear this special bulletproof cloth, then when the white man tries to shoot you, those bullets are going to bounce off this cloth. That's what he did, right? So when everybody's trying to get ready, they're trying to get the arrows and the whatever weapons they had and formulate a strategy. This guy said, no. All we need to do is pray and wear this bulletproof cloth, and that's what's going to help us defeat the white man. And do you know what happened? Everybody got murdered. Everybody got slaughtered. The cloth did not block a single bullet, and it's not a big surprise because nobody actually did a scientific test to determine if this cloth really blocks bullets, right? Seems to me that somebody could have said, well, if it really blocks bullets, why don't we try it out? Why don't we test it out? I got a gun. We're gonna put the cloth on a tree or something. We're not gonna put it on a person because we don't hurt nobody, or on a buffalo. And I'm gonna shoot the gun at the cloth and see if the buffalo survives. But no, they didn't do that. Why? Well, because people just said, well, just have faith. If you question the faith, then that makes you a heretic, or that makes you an outcast, right? And that's what we have. We have people that will believe something where there's no evidence whatsoever. There's nothing to support anything, and there's no sort of, additional strategy to go with it other than simply hoping for the best. And when you ask the hard questions, when you say, well, wait a minute, man, this don't even make no sense. Can you please try to show me some proof that this is true? Like, just a little bit. I don't even need it all. Just give me like 30%. You ain't got, you ain't got to give me 100. You ain't got to give me 90. Just give me 30% so I got something to hold on to. They can't give you anything. And so what I would just generally say is that, if you're talking about a strategy of sort of whether it's prayer or it's some sort of doctrine that someone tells you, something that someone's asking you to believe, ask for some proof. Even with me, even if I say, well, you know what? Hey, if you do this with your children, if you teach them about wealth building in this generation and in the next generation, a large percentage of these children are going to be captains of industry. They're going to be wealthy. They're going to give employment to their people. It's going to be amazing. Just ask me, challenge me if you want to. Say, well, Dr. Watkins, what evidence do you have? Can you at least give me an anecdote? Can you give me something to show me that maybe some of this is true? Or Dr. Watkins, you talk about money all the time. Doctor, I need to see your credentials. You tell me you're a finance professor, but everybody says that they're a self-proclaimed expert. Everybody says they're doctor this and doctor that. And some people got their doctorates on, on a weekend program or whatever. I need to see your credentials. Where's your degree? I need to look this guy up and see if he really has the credentials that he says he has. I think it's okay to question, because that's how you find truth. Because a lot of people will lie to you and feed you garbage, and they take advantage of your insecurities and your lack of knowledge. That's what people do. People will, if you are a scared person and an ignorant person, you are most vulnerable to any pimp that rolls up and feeds you a bunch of game. And sometimes these pimps live in the pulpit. Sometimes these pimps are black leaders. Sometimes these pimps are self-proclaimed gurus, who teach you how to run a business, but ain't never ran a business themselves or whatever. And so at the end of the day, I think it's okay to ask for evidence. I know I do. And I think it's okay to ask me for evidence, question me, question everything. Don't buy into demagoguery. That doesn't get you anywhere. That only gets you killed. Just like those poor Native Americans who put on that so-called bulletproof cloth. It made me feel bad for those poor people, because I bet some of them were children. It's tacky as hell. Makes me mad. But anyway, and again, if anybody's listening and you go to church and you're a pastor or something like that, I ain't talking about you. I'm not talking about you, so let's not make this sort of like an anti-religion thing. I'm not anti-religion, because I'm not smart enough to tell you if religion works. I'm not smart enough to tell you if there's an afterlife. I don't know. I ain't never been there. I ain't never been to heaven. I didn't even know that this life was going to happen. I know wherever we were before we got here, I probably couldn't have predicted any of this, because all of this is crazy. This whole thing called life just doesn't make sense to me, right? But only thing I know about afterlife is this. Here's what I know about the afterlife. I'm about to be your pastor for a minute. I'm going to be Reverend Dr. They use all those credentials. I'm going to be Reverend Dr. Boyce Dwight Watkins, Jr., who's going to, I'm not a junior. My daddy's name actually was Boyce, just for the record. Not my father at home, but the one who raised me, but my biological father. Um, so here's what I'm gonna tell you as your pastor about the afterlife. Here's what I know for a fact about the afterlife, and I can prove this. This is something I can prove. This ain't just in a book. This ain't something somebody told me. It's something I've seen. Here's what I know about the afterlife. When you die, the world is gonna keep on spinning. When you die, your children will still be here, most likely. When you die, the black community will continue to progress forward and things are going to happen. So, given that we know what happens in the afterlife, meaning that we're going to die and other people are still going to be affected by the decisions that we've made, the question is, what are you going to do right now in this life to prepare for the afterlife? Right? One thing I know about the afterlife is that when you die, the choices you make, the things that you invest in, the places that you put your money, the seeds you plant, the insurance policies you buy, the businesses you build are going to impact the people that you leave behind. The lessons you teach are going to impact the people you leave behind. Most everything that you learned in your life came from somebody who probably is dead now. Somebody 50 years ago set a tradition in your family that every Sunday we're going to get together for a Sunday dinner, or we're all going to go to church. Most people go to church because it's a 300-400 year tradition in black communities, right? So the question to me is, when you talk about the afterlife, is what are we going to do right now so that in the afterlife our children can experience heaven? See, I'm not a fan of selfish religiosity. This was sort of like, well, I'm going to do certain things now. I'm going to give money and go to church and recite doctrine so that when I die, my life is wonderful. I got 72 virgins and a Mercedes Benz, and I'm chilling in the club with Martin Luther King and Tupac. Like that's not really something that appeals to me. I'm not really worried about what I'm going to get in the afterlife. I'm thinking about something that's bigger than me. I'm thinking about the millions of black people that are going to be left behind after we're gone, who are going to inherit the world that we leave for them, who are going to inherit the opportunities we create. They're also going to inherit the problems that we leave, or the problems that remain unsolved and unresolved. The millions of people who are going to be affected, and the relatives that we have who are going to be affected as to whether or not we decided to get life insurance before we die. Right? You'll be dead. You're in the casket. But your baby is out here begging, looking like a bum because they begging the church to get enough money to bury you because you did not get no damn life insurance because you were too busy giving your money to the preacher. Or taking pictures on Facebook. Take a picture. You ever seen those people take a picture next to the new Mercedes and say, I'm so blessed? Or really it's like a humble brag. You know what I'm talking about? So what I would generally say is that if you want to know what I think about in terms of the afterlife, I'm thinking like, okay, after my life is over, how many problems that exist today will be solved because of my existence, because I was here, because I made certain decisions, because I planted certain seeds, because I left certain cultural norms, because I left certain tech information, because I did all. That's why I record almost every single thought that I have. Every thought that I have, every time I have a deep thought or figure something out about life or about wealth, about racism, about the community, I record it so that it will be here in the afterlife. So that 100 years from now, some kid who's struggling, who's 23, can't figure out how to get ahead, mad because white man won't give him a job or whatever, will see the video and say, oh, wait, I saw a Boyce Watkins video and it gave me a whole new point of view. And now I know where the money's at. I know how to fix my situation. So I'm not going to feel bad because these people who have proven that they hate me haven't sort of shown love toward me. Right? Why are you waiting for someone who's proven that they hate you to suddenly care about you? It doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. It's insane. It's insane. Somebody asked a question. They asked about the Black Business School and how you can get help. If you want help in the Black Business School, if you're already in there, you have any problems whatsoever or any questions about your curriculum, you can send an email to this address. Make sure you write it down. It's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. In case you don't know, the Black Business School, we have over 40,000 students now, where we teach everything about wealth building and cooperative economics and marketing and how to sell a book once you write your book and I have professors and faculty, and Dr. Claude Anderson came through, Tariq Nasheed came through to talk about how he built the Hidden Colors Empire, which has made, I think, over $10 million now. We've had Dr. Tyra Selden is in there, Noma Langum with Shelly Moses, Lene Javette, all different kinds of people who have all different kinds of information that can help you to get everything that you can get from a regular business school. But the difference is that we charge you a lot less. Our faculty is a lot better, and we also teach you how to build, and everything is culturally authentic and wired and custom made for the black community. We have spent thousands and thousands of man and woman hours to build this institution, and we're hopeful that you'll consider taking a visit. If you want to know more about the programs that I have, all the different programs that we have in different areas, you can visit blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. Also, we since it's Black Friday and we're encouraging people to buy black, first of all, I want to tell you that as Black Friday starts, or as it's getting closer and the holidays start, I really, really hope that you'll make sure that when you go make it rain on a black business. Go make it rain on black people. Don't make it rain on white folks. White folks can make it rain on each other. They got enough rain. They got a thunderstorm on their stores. They got they got tsunamis up in their stuff. So the question is, are you going to make it rain on the black community, or are we going to make it sprinkle on black folks? I don't want to make it sprinkle. I want to make it rain. So go take care of your community first, and then go back to do whatever else you want to do. Also, make sure over the holidays you buy your children. When you buy all the toys and you buy all the the Jordans and everything else, I'm not going to judge you for any of that. I'm not going to chastise anybody for buying Jordans. I actually know the brothers who I indirectly know the brothers who run the Jordan brand, and the president and the vice president, and they are actually really conscientious brothers, and it really surprised me because I don't perceive Michael Jordan as being the most conscientious person, but at least he picked certain people to run the Jordan brand who get what we're saying. These are guys that actually follow what I talk about, and I think I feel bad because I think that they got a little sad because I would take jabs at Michael all the time, and I always will, in the sense that I'm going to tell you the truth about what I think about what you're doing or not doing, but I will say that I've seen evidence within that brand that there are people there that are saying, okay, we got this responsibility. Let's see what we can do with this. And I want to encourage them to keep trying. And I'd actually like to help them in some capacity if I can be of support. And that's actually my way of kind of extending an olive branch and saying, look, I know how much influence you have over these kids, and I really want to see you use that influence in a positive way. So I'll let you know if anything changes or if they say something and whatever. I'm not going to be totally closed-minded to it, but at the same time, I think that we have to challenge each other to do better. And I think everybody's getting it now. A lot of people I see that used to not get it are starting to get it, and it makes me happy to see that. And also people are really, I think in this generation, they understand. Even people who don't understand wealth and money are really understanding how important wealth and money are in the liberation of black people, in dealing with the problems that we face as a community. So let's keep that trend going. Maybe I feel like coonery. We're always, as I always tell you, we're in a battle against coonery. We're in a war with coonery, and coonery's up by about 45 points. But I think now we hit a couple of 3-pointers, so now coonery's only winning by 28. So maybe we got a shot. Who knows? All right. So let me grab onto a couple of things I wanted to hit today, because I don't want to, y'all know me. I start talking, I start sharing what's on my mind, and actually I mentioned in the title, I mentioned that America is dying economically, and I want to make sure I drill into that point specifically so you'll know what I'm referring to. Basically, I wanted to kind of hit on the fact that the country is struggling a little bit in terms of where we're headed economically as a nation. And a lot of it links to where we're headed socially and politically as well, because they all tie together. The sociology and the politics and the economics kind of all tie together. And in fact, it's funny, when you really think about money, it's kind of like a lot of people think that money's sort of separate from everything else, and that's just not true. All these things drive money. For example, I'm working on a whole theory on black love and economics. I'm actually going to write a book on it, do some lectures on it, all that stuff. It won't be out for probably another year or two because I'm still defining everything I want to say on this. But one of the things I was thinking about is how relationships and money are so deeply connected. We think that they're disconnected. Like somebody can think they could be on a business paper chase, they could be building a company, and it doesn't matter who they date or who they bring into their lives as friends, and that's not true. Dating the wrong person, marrying the wrong person, bringing the wrong people into your life as friends can ruin everything you're trying to do economically. Also, what you're doing economically impacts who wants to be your friend. What I notice is that people, for example, if you're doing well economically, everybody wants to be your buddy. People pretend to be your friend. Maybe if you're a guy, girls start to like you more. I suddenly became more handsome when people noticed that I understood money and how it works and where to go get it. And I don't think I'm any more handsome than I was 15 years ago. But that's kind of the dynamic. That's life. It's fine. It's not a big deal. And so, when you talk about that, how that interaction works, I think it's important to kind of realize how the economic status of this country is deeply interwoven into everything else. It's deeply interwoven with racism and classism and sexism, and whether you go into other areas like homophobia and political discourse, and all of that ties together. And so with the United States, I think that what's going to ruin us mostly economically has to do with where we're going as a country, culturally, socially, politically, etc. And I'll give you some kind of sort of talking points to help you understand why the United States is actually headed on a downward spiral. Why America's best years are actually behind it. I mean, you have Donald Trump saying we're going to make America great again. Really, that's kind of like a bunch of old white guys in their last minute rallying cry in hopes that America can become what they want it to be. And it's just not going to happen. In fact, I see somebody saying that the United States is running a pyramid scheme. And I don't know what you mean exactly by that remark, but I will say that I agree with you in the sense that if you, for example, start off with national debt, you start off with the fact that we have about 19 trillion in debt. Let me see what I'm going to Google and say and find out what the national debt is, because I know some people have national debt clocks and stuff like that. So let me see what's let me see. Here we go. The national debt clock. Let's see what the national debt clock says about the national debt and where it is right now. I thought it was about 19 trillion, but let me see here. Here we go. National debt clock real time. 19 trillion 863 billion 220 million 850, 60, 70, 80, $90,000 is literally going up by about $10,000 every 3 seconds, according to this clock. Debt per citizen in the United States right now is $61,130. Debt per taxpayer is $166,240. So whether or not you know it, you're $166,000 in debt. The federal deficit is $590 billion. The deficit is the gap between expenses and revenues, and a lot of this came from the Bush tax cuts. When George Bush cut taxes because we had a surplus, he didn't anticipate that we would have 9/11, the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and then the 2007 market crash. Tax reductions are easy to give. Tax reductions are hard to take away, right? It's hard to increase taxes, but very easy to decrease them. So effectively, that's part of what left our economy screwed. You can go down the list in terms of some of these statistics. The amount of interest paid, it looks like we paid about $2.5 trillion in interest, and the list goes on and on. So the national debt, let me say this about the national debt right now. The national debt will never be repaid. There'll never be a day where the United States government announces, hey, everybody, guess what? We finally made our last payment on the debt, and we'll have no more bill collectors calling us. Everything's good. That's not going to happen. There will never be a day where the national debt will be repaid. So just write that off. Write that off. Here's another indicator that says that the country is dying. America's population is aging. I don't know what the average age of an American is. Let me see if I can Google that. But the average age of a person in your country is, let me see here, is an indicator of how productive your country is. If you have a bunch of old people don't work as much as young people. And America, basically, we had the baby boomer generation, and that's when we had a lot of kids, and now the baby boomers are old. So basically, as the baby boomers have aged, there's been sort of a hump in terms of like wherever they were, there was a hump in terms of what the country focused on. So when they were babies, the country, a lot of companies focused on babies. And then when they became teenagers and adolescents, a lot of, the country focused on what was going on with the teenagers. Then when they got to college, same thing. Keep going down the list. Let me see here. So let's see. There are 119 million men in the United States. Let me see if there's something here that says the average age of an American male. You know what? I'm going to find it. I'll find it later. But anyway, when the country's average age starts to get older, the country's productivity declines, which is a huge factor in your degree or your ability to compete with other nations. So that's another indicator, right? So you got a lot of debt, and because your productivity is declining, you have less ability to repay it. I mean, imagine if you had a ton of debt and you're about to retire. Well, your chances of repaying that debt, if you couldn't pay it during your peak earning years in your 40s, then you definitely aren't going to pay it in your 60s, 70s, and 80s because you may not be going to work and you're going to have to use that money in order to survive. So that's another problem in the United States that's going to lead to the economic death of this country. Now, just so you know, I'm not just sort of reciting doom and gloom. What I'm doing is I'm telling you the landscape so that you can go ahead and kind of figure out how this is going to change the country and how to prepare your family. One of the arguments that I've always made is that with America, inequality in America is not going to get better. You see, countries that address things like inequality are typically countries that have plenty of money, right? Think about it. If you're in a house and somebody says, let's say that all the kids are eating and one kid says, everybody else got 2 grilled cheese sandwiches and I only got half a sandwich. There should be equality. I deserve to have the same as everybody else. Well, if there's plenty of bread and plenty of cheese or whatever, then yeah, you make them another sandwich. Here you go. Here's 1.5 sandwiches. You're good, right? Well, what if there's only 2? What if there's only 1 sandwich and there's 5 kids that have to share it? You never know. People, you may see some chaos. You may see some people not caring so much about how you feel, right? It goes back to what I was talking about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you got plenty of everything, it's easy to be a good person. It's easy to do the right thing. The challenge is when you ain't got nothing and you're trying to do the right thing, right? Like if you're a person that used to rob banks for a living, maybe you say, I don't want to rob any more banks. I got 20 million in the bank. I'm fine. Well, what happens when you've only got $20 in the bank? Then maybe your ethics can be kind of compromised a little bit in order for you to get what you need to survive, right? So the same thing is true in this country. When you talk about addressing inequality, I think that the whole battle for so-called equality is kind of a stupid battle in the sense that not because it's not worth talking about. I think that inequality should be addressed, but, nobody's going to really give you equality. White folks are not going to give you economic equality. They're just not. They're not. They might give you the perception of political equality, which you really actually don't have. It's not the reality of political equality, but it's the perception, right? But they're not really going to give you economic equality because by definition, globalized economic systems are built on a competitive framework, and a competitive framework does not make room for people who are handicapped. People who are weak, people who can't really compete. And when you're dealing with a world where we've decided, and this goes to my next point as to why America's dying, is that we have a large contingent in this country. This is due to capitalism being practiced the wrong way. Who believe greed is okay, that greed is good. Look, you know what? Yeah, you might starve to death because I have 2 private jets and an Alfa Romeo and a yacht. You might starve to death because, even though I could easily use some of the gas money I spend on my jet to feed your family, but you're going to starve to death because I don't feel morally compelled to care about your problems. If you wanted to feed your family, you would have found a way. That's the mentality a lot of people have. And that is not really going to change that much in this country. That's what makes America a little bit different. America is kind of, because we're kind of built on that so-called rugged individualism, we kind of end up getting to that point where we turn into a pack of pricks. Our country really unfortunately, we breed pricks. We breed people who just don't care about other people, and I hate that. That just bothers the heck out of me. I was on CuriosityStream.com and I started watching this great documentary about a movement toward conscientious capitalism. Now, my friend Yvette Carnell would think that there is no such thing as conscientious capitalism, but I've studied capitalism for a while, and as a person, I was a finance professor for 23 years at 7 different institutions. And I can tell you that there are ways to practice capitalism without screwing everybody. All you got to do is change really one fundamental tenet of capitalism. You have to change the fact that capitalism is built to take care of the people at the top, and it doesn't give a shit. It doesn't write anything in there to take care of anybody else. It doesn't care about the workers, doesn't care about the environment, doesn't care about the customers, doesn't care about the suppliers, doesn't care about anybody. Conscientious capitalism says, no, let's put leadership in place. Let's create a system and a culture where we just decide we want to care about everybody. We want to take care of everybody. You know, why can't we pay our workers a decent wage? Why can't we give our customers a fair price? Why can't we take care of the environment at the same time? Why can't we do good in the community as well? Why can't we, be fair with our suppliers and not try to screw them just because we have monopoly power, right? So capitalism can be practiced in a conscientious way. It just probably won't be practiced in a conscientious way in the United States. I think that's the challenge we're running into. Let me give you something. If you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, please visit drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. Also, we have a whole bundle of films and books and everything you can buy for Black Friday for your family if you're interested. You can actually check it out at blackfridaybundle.com. That's blackfridaybundle.com. It's actually been discounted steeply, and it includes a lot of films. I don't think our films are there, but the film Black Friday is in there by Rick Mathis. The 7 a.m. documentary by Jason Black is in there. The Generation 1 DVD by Lamar Tyler is part of the bundle as well. Generation 1 teaches how you can actually create legacies of generational wealth in your family. It gives blueprints and templates. Remember, people, the information is out there. The information is out there. It's all a matter of deciding if you want to listen. I think Black Friday and Generation 1 would be great documentaries to watch with the family. But you can check it out. I'm actually in, let me see, I'm not in 7 a.m. Dr. Claude Anderson's at 7 a.m. though. I am in Generation 1. My brother Lawrence is actually in Generation 1 also. I am in Black Friday. I'm not in Black Friday. Scratch that. I'm not in Black Friday, but I'm in Black Friday the Remix, which is also included as part of the bundle. So if you want to check that out, go to blackfridaybundle.com. That's blackfridaybundle.com. Angie Tweet says, are we boycotting Black Friday? No, I'm not boycotting Black Friday. I just think that we should try to buy black on Black Friday. I think that if you want to build a black economy, I think it's okay to get out here and spend a little bit of money. Don't spend so much that you ruin your family, though. And also make sure you mix between purchasing things that might be considered gluttonous, toys and shoes or whatever, and balance that with things that are considered healthy. Buy your kid a share of stock. I know parents that are putting their kids in our program as one of their gifts, and the kids actually like our programs. We meet our kids every Saturday in the Black Financial Leadership Program. Every Saturday we get online and talk to them about wealth building, cooperative economics, entrepreneurship, everything else, and the kids love it. They love it. That's really when I'm actually my silliest. When I'm around kids, I like kids. Being around kids brings out the kid in me. So when we teach our Saturday program, I become very childlike. And so it may disappoint you if you think I'm very scholarly all the time. I'm not scholarly all the time. I'm very confident in what I am as a scholar, to the point where I don't feel the need to be scholarly all the time. Okay, so anyway, let's see here. Kendall says, I say it half jokingly, but seriously, you want to do something to help a small business, buy someone's mixtape on the street. I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, when I see mixtapes, I have brothers. I think I got somebody's mixtape in my bag. I'm always walking down the street and people will give me mixtapes and stuff. And I'll be like, oh, thank you. Okay, well, here's some money. I want you to take the money. I don't want it for free. Now somebody asks, is there a black business directory? I'm going to ask Lene Javette to send me one, and I can share it in the next live stream. I do know where some black businesses are housed. I know if you go to theblackcommercenetwork.com, you can actually find some black businesses that are listed there. But the Black Commerce Network is set up really more so for you to go in and actually sell for these businesses if you want to make a commission. So you can actually go to theblackcommercenetwork.com. We spent tens of thousands of dollars building this thing. There was our money. We didn't have a magical white man behind us who gave us a bunch of money to do this. We built this with our own money. So that I love to mention this so that I can deal with everybody who says, man, you just out here talking. All you doing is talking. All y'all professors do is talk. No. We're not talking. We're building. We're taking real money from our pockets and investing in building things that are going to actually help achieve these goals. So no, we're not just talking. I talk a lot because you need to talk in order to gain knowledge and information. But then you have to set a goal, make a strategy, and execute and implement. And that's what we do every day. And believe me, when I get enough power, I'm going to tell you like this, when I get enough power and enough money to really do massive things, oh, you're going to see, you haven't seen nothing yet. You have not yet begun to even dig to the tip of the iceberg of all of the vision and ideas that I have that I would love to see turn to fruition that would literally transform the face of this entire community. And I'm not playing with you. I mean, I'm not joking about this. I'm extremely comfortable and confident to tell you that you don't want to see Boyce Watkins with $1 billion in his pocket. If Boyce Watkins has $1 billion, the black community and the rest of the world will be changed for the next 1,000 years. And I'm not making that up. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. It's all, the whole vision's been created in my mind. I just need to raise the money and get the resources to make it happen. Our business grows every year by about 20%, and I'm going to keep it growing. And over time, we're going to take what we got. And because we're smarter than other people and because we don't waste money, we're more passionate than other people, and we understand technology better than most people and entrepreneurship better than most people, we're able to do more with $10,000 than a lot of people are able to do with $100,000 or even almost $1 million. So I'm not concerned about the fact that we don't have everything that we want, but we're getting it. And as we get more and more of it, you're going to see more and more things. I mean, we created the All Black National Convention and made it into a national thing with a fraction of the budget that other people would need. Also, we were able to do it without any sort of corporate sponsorship whatsoever. We did not have to go to one single company. We didn't have to go to the Democratic Party. We didn't have to go to anybody to pay for this. And a lot of it didn't just come from having know-how and willpower. It also just came from a conscientious effort and understanding of what happens, what it means when you're taking somebody else's money. When you take money from a corporation or from, the Democrats or from somebody outside of your community, you got to understand that you may think that you got charity, but actually you just made a trade. You just traded something. Even becoming friends with a person can mean that you've made a trade. So like, for example, when I started doing more stuff and I started hearing from more famous people, more celebrities, I began to recognize that, wait a minute, when I shake this person's hand and I say that we're friends, I'm making an implicit trade here, and I need to think about who I'm trading with. Because what will happen is if I get on the phone and I get all excited because I'm talking to some famous person and I say, oh, yeah, we're friends. I'm friends with so-and-so. Well, guess what? The minute something goes down or the minute I say something or write something that isn't favorable to that person, I get a call on the phone. Hey, Doc, I know that you have a lot of influence over black people, and I'm hoping that you could change your article and take out the words that you said about blah, 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 blah. And that's when I started thinking, wait a minute, I don't even think I want any friends. My friends are the people. I like being friends with the people. Celebrity types, I will talk to them. I will engage them. I will support them. I will be friendly toward them. But I don't want to hang around them all the time because also I don't really need that. Like I don't really need that in my self-esteem or whatever. It doesn't make me feel better about myself. It's just like, no, I feel good about who I am already. So I don't really need to be friends with the cool kids in order to feel like I'm a cool kid. I could be sitting here all by myself and I feel like I might be the biggest nerd in the building, but I feel like I'm the coolest nerd in the building and I love it. And it took time for me to get to that point. Brian Trammell says, do you take donations? We would probably not reject a donation, but we don't ask for donations because one of the fundamental rules of cooperative economics that I put in the cost model of cooperative economics is that you don't have freeloaders in a cooperative economic society. The new Black Wall Streets should not have freeloaders. The only exceptions in terms of people that receive charity as opposed to doing trade are the only exceptions are children, the elderly, or the disabled. Those are the only groups of people that should be sort of asking you to help them with some sort of donation per se or whatever it is, right? It doesn't mean that donations are always bad. It doesn't mean you should never do them. But a lot of us think that we're helping people when we make donations when you might actually be crippling them, enabling them, or creating the wrong incentives. If you want to understand what I'm talking about, go watch the documentary on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube or maybe Netflix. It's called Poverty Inc. Poverty Inc. talks about how all the so-called do-gooders who really want to help Africa, who want to help, quote, 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 help Africa, are actually harming Africa because they're making these donations. They're selling images of poor African kids with, flies on their face and everything else. And they're selling these images to white folks all around the world, rich European countries. And they're like, oh my gosh, that poor African baby, let me make a donation. So they donate the money, right? So this organization takes this money. Now, if they really want to strengthen that community, they would empower the community. They would take that money and allow the people in that country to make investments in infrastructure so they could produce their own products and have their own industry and compete and become traders in the global economy. They would position them to become equal in global society. But remember, money and power don't work that way. So what do? They take a paternalistic approach, which is where they take the money, they give it to their friends. They say, oh, we're going to help the poor, pathetic Africans, and we're going to give them socks. They need socks. So the guy in France, he doesn't go to if he's trying to do charity in Ethiopia, he doesn't go to Ethiopia and allow Ethiopians to build a sock factory and run the factory. He makes the socks in France. So his homeboys are getting them. And then they take all the socks and they airlift, they drop them all down to the poor people. And they're like, oh, thank you for the socks. Here's the that are created when they do this. The first and foremost, you're making people dependent upon charity. You've got a whole generation. Check. Then number two, you've got industry that can't grow because they're like, shit, we're trying to build up our country. We're trying to become sovereign. We're trying to become strong. And every time we build a sock factory, y'all come through and airlift. Well, in my own country won't support my sock factory because you're giving them a bunch of free stuff. You're making them dependent upon the free stuff. So we shut down, and instead of becoming captains of industry like you, we become like everybody else. Well, we're waiting for the airlift to drop us some free stocks. So there are people in Africa who vehemently resent all forms of foreign aid and charity. They're like, no, we're not disabled. We're not handicapped. We're not weak. We can do this. Y'all just need to stop. Y'all just need to quit with the paternalism. So I didn't mean to go off like that when you asked if we accept donations. I probably sound so damn ungrateful right now. But let me just tell you the truth. Here's the thing. Here's what we do. We believe charity is always better. Charity should be superseded by trade. Trade is better than charity. So rather than asking you for a donation, which we won't ask for, we'll say, well, I ask you to do this. Please just endure and please be okay with me offering you classes you can take where we make a trade. I'm not a baby. I'm not handicapped. I'm not a charity case. I am a black man. And as a black man, I'm saying to you, I have a class. If you take the class, there's a cost to it. Please consider taking this class because I'm going to give you information that comes from my PhD, which I spent a lot of years obtaining and $250,000 earning. And I'm going to take this information. I'm going to share it with you. It's going to make your life better. And when you join the Black Business School and you take a class from me, or you join the Black Wealth Bootcamp, you're making our life better. And we're able to accomplish our mission. We're helping each other survive because charity is not sustainable. Charity enables me, makes me weak, and it drains the hell out of you. That's why when you get those relatives that are always looking for you to hook them up and help them out and always asking for a loan and that they're never going to repay, or asking for money that they don't ever plan on giving you back, you got to understand that you're not helping them by doing that, and you're not helping yourself. How long can you really sustain charity? You really can't sustain charity for very long. Now, some people say I'm cutting out a little bit. On the African History Network page, I see you guys are saying I'm cutting out. Well, I'm sorry if I am. Let me know if I am, or what's going on with that. But so if you want to know how you can help, if you really want to be a part of the clique, here's something somebody can do if they really want to make a donation. We got flashcards for children. I invented financial flashcards for children. You can check them out at financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. If you want to make a donation to our cause, go there, and also to your cause. Go to financialflashcards.com and buy a bunch of flashcards, buy several sets for your children and the children in the neighborhood. give them out as Christmas gifts, help out the family. They're going to benefit. Our company benefits. We create a symbiotic relationship where everybody's benefiting, everybody's helping each other out, and then we're all going to win as a community. Because, but the thing is, it requires trust. You have to trust that I'm not taking your money and cooning for a white man or out here just doing stupid stuff with the money. And I don't do that. I'm not a person that seeks to harm the black community, but I need to convince you of that. Because a lot of us don't trust those we perceive to be leaders. We want to believe that there's some other deep, dark motive. And I'm not a perfect person by any stretch. I'm not going to put myself on any pedestal, but I try my best to do my best. Angie Tweets is asking, what's the age range of the flashcards? We recommend 7 to 14, but actually we've had people use the cards as old as 50 years old, because these are concepts that most adults don't know. We talk about concepts like leverage, mortgages, equity, diversification, volatility, all different kinds of things that go from basic financial concepts to stock market related concepts to investment related concepts across the board. So basically, these cards actually can be used by anybody. And the reason that that everybody can learn from them is because the average American financial literacy level is actually very, very low. Most Americans do not have any financial literacy to speak of. And so therefore, if your child gets ahead of the curve, just literally by putting your child in one good, financial literacy class, that your child literally will have a higher financial literacy level than the average adult by the time they finish the program. They're going to be ahead of the curve in so many ways it'll be ridiculous. In fact, even ahead of the average college graduate. I used to teach college graduates finance, and I knew what they know, and they don't know anything. So anyway, all right, so here's some other reasons that America is dying. I'm going to keep going down the list. Next, Social Security is on its way out. Social Security, in a few years, Social Security will not be fully funded. Social Security is going to sort of decline and fade out. And, when we get presidents in the White House and congressmen who care less about the elderly, you're only going to see that get worse. Also, income inequality. We talked about that. Now, let me give you a statistic that helps sort of clarify where we are in terms of income inequality. Did you know that according to Forbes, the 400 richest Americans on the Forbes 400 list have more wealth than the entire black community plus the entire Latino community put together, combined? They have more wealth than all of the black community and the Latino community combined. So effectively, income inequality racially is huge. It's growing. It hasn't gotten better. Income inequality for all Americans hasn't gotten better. The average CEO's pay is now hundreds of times higher than the average American worker. That trend has continued. We're now back in the robber baron, what they call the robber baron era in the early 20th century, where inequality was so unsustainable that they had to make laws to stop it, because you had guys like Rockefeller and Carnegie and J.P. Morgan just getting too much power, and it was really harming the rest of the world. If you want to know more about concepts like this in detail, our programs are listed actually at blackfinancialliteracy.com. So go to blackfinancialliteracy.com and you can check out some of the programs we have for adults and children and everything else. What else? And the last piece of evidence, because we mentioned the aging population, Social Security's problems, income inequality, the $19 trillion debt. The greed is good mentality that's sort of taken over this country, that started really in the 80s with Reaganomics. And then you have, finally, I would say that one of the big factors that shows that America's not healing, not getting better, it's going to get worse before it gets better, is just the constant political gridlock. The fact that we have a lot of politicians in Washington that we don't believe in, that are not very good, that don't care much about the American people, that aren't doing the right thing, but we have no ability whatsoever as a so-called democracy to remove these people from office. That is a huge factor in terms of our country sort of moving away from common sense. We're moving away from the ability to really just sort of see a problem and fix it. We see a problem and we just stare at it for 20 years, and while the problem festers and gets worse and ruins the entire economy. So I would just say to you that these are real problems. These things are actually only going to get worse. And if you want to prepare your children and prepare yourself for the future, the reason I bring this up is not so we can sit around and think about a doom and gloom scenario. I bring this up to say, like, what are you going to do to kind of manage this? What are you going to do to try to make sure that at least you and yours, you and your children and your family and the people you like are going to be kind of at the top of the pile. Now, I've got friends, I got liberal friends, and they make my head hurt. Literally, my head starts hurting when I start thinking about some of my liberal friends. I swear to God, I literally, give me 1 second. I got to rub my head for a minute because I got this sharp headache real quick because I start thinking about how they give me so much shit about helping the black community. Actually, while I do this, please hit the share button. Hit the share button real quick. Share this to your page. I'm gonna drink some water real quick. If you haven't shared this or subscribed or whatever the case may be, please do that real quick. And let me drink some water real quick because I literally felt like a little sharp pain. I might be dehydrated. Thank you, Angie Tweets. Give me 1 second. I don't think I'm dehydrated because I've literally got 3 bottles of water over here. But okay, all right. So here's what my liberal friends say. My liberal friends who want black people to be one of them, so that we can actually, because we're so weak and pathetic that they don't believe we can actually have any real power. They pull black people over to the left, even though some of us don't want to be on the left. And they tell us, like, no. We need to stop talking about racial equality. We need to talk about dealing with poverty. We need to fix poverty. We need to get rid of poverty in America, and that's going to fix the race problem. Well, I don't have faith that America has the tools to fix poverty. America does not have the desire to fix poverty. We don't have the political will. We don't have the culture. We don't have any of that. We're not going to fix poverty. Let's just be clear. We don't have the political mechanisms in place that will fix poverty. It is a freaking dream. I see you notice I'm doing good. I'm not cussing so much. It is a dream. It is a fantasy. It is not going to happen. Not in the next 200 years. Now, you can wait 200 years for America to hopefully get better. What I've decided to do, my policy, my strategy has been to talk to black folks and say, look, I'm not going to tell you so much how to change the landscape in terms of how America works. America's jacked up. As Dr. Martin Luther King said, you've been integrated into a burning house, and it is on fire. The parts of the roof are falling off. The pieces of burnt wood are falling down everywhere. You need to figure out how to make yourself safe in this burning house. That's what I would say. Because what's going to happen is America is eventually going to devolve into what you see in third world countries. You're going to have a country where the inequality is going to be huge. And basically rich people will just protect themselves from the consequences of inequality by having big militaries and big armies to sort of block out anybody who protests or anybody who rejects the current system. And that's what it's going to be. There's going to be the rich and there's going to be the poor. There's going to be the powerful and there's going to be the powerless. There are going to be factions and coalitions that will form. And the question is, as black people, are you going to form a powerful faction, or are you going to be a diluted, weakened faction that has no ability to survive in this new environment? Well, my job as a finance professor, in my opinion, as a black man first, I love the community more than I love money. I don't love money at all, actually. I just think money is a tool. It's very important to understand. As a black person, my goal is to say to black folks, look, this is what you're working with. Let's position ourselves to win in this new game. And the way I teach you to win in this game is by letting you know that America is rigged. America is totally rigged. It is rigged in favor of people who own stock. It is rigged in favor of people who own property. It is rigged in favor of people who own businesses. So the 3 major sorts of courses and curricula that we teach are: 1, how to buy stock; 2, we have the blackrealestateschool.com where we teach you how to buy real estate; 3, how to own a business. That's what the Black Business School does. That's what we talk about in the Black Wealth Bootcamp. If you know those 3 things as a child, then even if America burns to the core, even if America falls apart and just goes straight to hell like it's going to do, and you elect 35 Donald Trumps in a row, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. But when you're waiting for politicians to save you, when you're waiting for government interests to save you, you are going to be waiting for a bus that is never going to arrive. You will be sitting there in the hot sun with your baby on your hip with a bag full of groceries in 101-degree heat, waiting with your bus pass for the Democratic bus to arrive, and the bus ain't never coming. Let's stop waiting for Superman. You must let that go. You have to let that go. I was looking at Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. As I've been telling you guys, I've been meditating on this book, and I'm probably going to read this book about 800 times. I'm not joking. I mean, I love this book. I love that man. I got to reach out to him this week because I need to figure out when we're going to do our event for 2017. he's like a grandfather to me. He and Farrakhan, those are my two grandfathers. I adopted them both, and I told them that when I saw them, because I needed strong black men I could look up to, just like everybody else needs that. And as they get older, if whoever goes first, I don't know who's. I guess since they're older, they're expected to go first. But when they're gone, I want to continue their legacies. I'm gonna do everything in my power to really make sure that we as a community always remember what they have done for black people in terms of helping us get up off our butts and stop falling for the temptation to feel sorry for ourselves. And I was reading the book, and I want to read some of. Let me see. Wait, Kwaku saying, did you see how Trump used info from his book, from what Claude Anderson's book? That's interesting. If he did, I mean, Trump and Claude Anderson have very similar principles in terms of building wealth, and it works. I mean, look at how much money Trump has. His father Fred was a laborer back in the early 20th century, and his father then he used data and analytics to win digital warfare. Yeah, he did. And what's interesting is that Trump to some extent has one thing he has in common with the black man, in my opinion, is that when he was running, most of the people in the power structure did not like him. The Democrats hated him. They would talk to him like he was Hitler. The Republicans hated him. They talked to him like he was an idiot. So what do you do when everybody in the establishment rejects you? Well, you find your own source of power. You accumulate that power, and you go and you take what you want. Barack Obama did the same damn thing. The Democratic establishment undermined him. They tried their best to stop him from rising to the presidency. White folks didn't like him that much. I mean, liberal white folks eventually did. The Republicans hated him. They talked about him like he was the devil. Right? That's what they do. That's what we do now. Like, watch every election from now on. I want you to pay attention to how each side dehumanizes the other. Whichever side loses, they create conspiracy theories about how the other side, the winner on the other side, is somehow either the devil or Hitler or whatever, or an alien who came to eat earthlings or whatever. That's what they said about Obama. They made all kinds of crazy stories up about him that weren't true because they hated him. Well, they do the same thing with Trump. It's the same. I mean, I'm looking at this objectively. Some people are too caught in our feelings to really see it objectively, but that's true. Because watch when in the next election, let's say a Democrat wins, the Republicans are going to be spreading rumors and lies about how he was a member of the Communist Party and he wants to destroy the country and everything else. It's really hilarious to kind of see how people are behaving. It's funny, but it's not funny. It's funny in the sense that it's just stupid, but it's not funny in the sense that it's really destroying the fabric of this society. Our country is divided, more divided than it's ever been. If you want to start your kids on a wealth building journey, we actually have a program at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. If you want to see more about all of our programs, go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. Okay, so let me read some of Dr. Claude Anderson's book. I'm reading from Black Labor, White Wealth. Black Labor, White Wealth. Right now I've got my son reading Black Labor, White Wealth. He just read that. Or actually, no, wait, did he read that one? No, he read my book. I had him read my book, The New Black Power. Which you can actually check out if you want at thenewblackpower.com. That's thenewblackpower.com. And then I had him read Powernomics. So he's finishing Powernomics, and my daughter read Powernomics, and all my interns are going to read Powernomics. And also I'm going to have him next read Black Labor, White Wealth, because I want them to understand the dynamics of history in this country. I encourage you to make books like this required reading for your children so they understand the racial dynamics of America and understand how to be empowered against it, as opposed to simply being mad, just mad about it, feeling sorry for themselves, or feeling so marginalized that they self-sabotage. Because a lot of times when you don't feel like you have any power to fight back, you become self-defeated. You become your own worst enemy. You might destroy yourself in your own future because you don't think you have a future. And so I just think that's just a horrible way to try to live. It's like one of my mentors, W.C. Benton. I remember him telling me when I was going through a hard time when I was in grad school, because I was getting a lot of pushback in grad school because I worked with a lot of bigots, and they really did some stuff that was really nasty to me. And he said, Boyce, when I was in the Marines, we were taught that even if you're surrounded, even if you know you're going to die, you fire your gun until every bullet in the gun has been released. You fire your gun until there are no bullets left, even if you know you're going to die. And I said, that's really good information. I kept that with me. So now what I will say is that young black men have to be taught that, and they're not really so much being taught that by mothers. I think fathers are more likely to teach that. So your son needs strong male role models that he's going to connect with and listen to and look up to. I know that when I got about 13, I stopped listening to my mother. To be honest with you, I just didn't. There's something about it. Your mother just doesn't get it. She doesn't understand what motivates you. She doesn't understand why you want to go on the football field and crack heads with other boys. She doesn't understand all the time why you want to go out and fight. She doesn't understand like why you don't want to be cluttered up in the house and why you want to go do whatever you do. So there's some when you hit about 13, boys are not controllable as much by their mothers, and that's where the older males, step in to mentor and control the young boys. That's even true with animals. With elephants on the wildlife reserve, when they had nothing but babies and their mothers, when the babies became adolescents, they stopped listening to their mothers and they started going out and killing the other animals. And they didn't understand why these elephants, who normally don't do this kind of thing, they didn't understand why are these elephants going out and killing other animals. Well, it's because they were basically a bunch of rowdy teenagers who had no mentorship. They said, wait a minute, we realized we didn't bring any male elephants into the reserve, and as a result, the teenagers, the adolescents, don't have mentors. So basically, your son needs a mentor. It's really, really important to make sure you give him that. Don't think you can just do all this by yourself, and don't just be comfortable because you think he's an adequate man. You may think he's an adequate man because you think he's an adequate son, but he may not be an adequate husband or an adequate boyfriend or an adequate father. So that's where the difference, I think, lies, and I think a lot of moms miss that, unfortunately. It makes me kind of sad. We do have an organization for black men that teaches the principles of manhood. Please encourage every male that you know to join. The URL you can sign up for to become an at-large member is blackmenunited.net. That's blackmenunited.net. We started the organization at the All Black National Convention last year, and we want to have 10,000 members by the time we hit the next convention. So we're going to have a meeting of Black Men United at the All Black National Convention. So we're up to, I think, 1,500 members now. So we got a ways to go, but we're going to get to 10,000 by the time of the next convention. So go to blackmenunited.net to sign up your son. It's for black men only. We do have things for black women, but that's for men. We need this to be for the brothers, talking to the brothers, and to really understand the black code of responsibility and the man code of responsibility. All right. So let me read some of this to you from Dr. Claude Anderson in his book, Black Labor, White Wealth. This is page 29, and he talks about what power is. What is power? Power is defined by Webster's Dictionary as the ability to bring about fulfillment of one's desires and goals. Behavioral scientists add another balance or another nuance to the meaning of including the definition, the notion of one entity imposing its will on another. Along the same line, Thomas Sowell, an economist, defines the term power in a much broader sense. In his book, The Economics and the Politics of Race, he adds the qualifier that power is not simply the ability to get something done, but to get it done despite the resistance and opposition of others. It is this last definition of power that is used in this book. So I think that's a really good definition. And if you really look at this, let's read this again. Power is not simply the ability to get something done, but to get it done despite the resistance and opposition of others. You see, a lot of times we get trained on how to get something done if we have no resistance. And the minute we get some resistance, the minute somebody pushes back, we start freaking out. Oh, Lord, oh, my goodness, what am I going to do? See, that's what happens, Dr. Boyce. They be hating. Every time black people try to unify, they get mad, and they start talking about us, and they try to stop us, and they start cheating. Well, yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're going to provide opposition and resistance. So if you can't get anything done unless you do it without any sort of resistance whatsoever, then you basically have no power. You have no political power. You have no economic power. You have no psychological power. You have no willpower, right? So power comes in a lot of forms, and power is, something that I know Thomas Sowell. Somebody mentioned that Thomas Sowell is not a guy that's real. That's real beloved in the black community, and I agree. I thought it was funny that Dr. Anderson quoted him, but whatever. I don't really think just because you're a conservative to me doesn't make you anti-black, in my opinion. I need to understand why you're a conservative. If you tell me you're a conservative, then I'm gonna listen to you, and if what you say makes sense, then I might agree with you. So somebody says, if I am light skinned, can I sign up? Okay, Anthony, come on now. That's a silly question. We got light skin. My sister's light skinned, and I know she's black. All right, so, and my mama's light skinned, and you can't tell me my mama ain't black. 'Cause look at me. I'm a black man. All right, so I think you got to understand, as black people, when you try to move forward, you try to progress, when you try to really do something worth doing, people are going to try to stop you. If no one tries to stop you, that pretty much usually means that either they really like you, which we know isn't true in America because white people don't like you that much as a collective anyway. They definitely don't care about you. Or it means that what you're doing is not a threat. What you're doing is just not a big deal. But when they start trying to push back, when they start trying to fight you and hold you back and oppose you, that means you're really doing something of significance in most cases. So the question is, as black people, what are we doing that's really significant? What are we doing as a community that's really significant enough that people are going to get upset, they're going to push back, they're going to get underhanded? I don't know. But I do know that whatever it is that we are doing, whatever it is we choose to do, I know that when we start trying to build that Black Wall Street and everything else that we're seeking to do, there will be people that aren't going to like it. There will be people that will resist. And true power means that we are able to overcome that resistance. It's like I remember when I was a kid and we used to prepare for basketball and football games. And it always blew my mind and irritated the hell out of me that we would practice a play and it would go perfectly in practice. Like you go this way, you go that way, I'm going to throw you the ball, then you're going to score a touchdown. And in practice, the play would move perfectly because there was no resistance. But then you get in the game and it's like a complete psychological shock because guess what? They've got defense. And guess what? Sometimes they even know the play that you're going to run before you even run it. And guess what? They're going to do everything they can to stop you. And the question is, do you have the willpower, the psychological power, the power of focus to remain diligent toward your goal despite the fact that you have opposition? When you ran that last play that you thought was going to work and you got hit in your face and fumbled the ball, do you have enough focus to line up again and run the play with perfect precision despite the fact that you know you're going to have opposition? So for black people, here's the thing. My point in all this is to say, look, you're going to have opposition. You're going to have an America that doesn't like you. You're going to have an America that's underhanded, where people are going to do everything they can to try to stop you. But do you have enough focus to line up at the ball and run the play with precision? Do you have enough focus to do what you got to do to move forward despite the fact that other people may not like it? What does that mean? What am I saying when I say this? Look, there are things that you can do in your life, despite all the sadness that exists in the world, despite the racism, everything else. There are things you can do in your life that will empower you and your family, that will make you and your family strong. A white man can do a lot of stuff, but a white man will never stop you from picking up a book and reading it as opposed to laying down and watching Basketball Wives, right? A white man cannot stop you from teaching your children every day and teaching them on your own and teaching them with passion and persistence and consistency. A white man ain't going to stop you from doing it. A white man's not going to stop you from saving your money. He's not going to stop you from investing in the stock market. He's not going to stop you from starting a business. He's not going to stop you from learning. He's not going to stop you from trying to go out and trying to buy some property with other black people who want to do the same thing. There are a lot of things he cannot stop you from doing. He may provide some resistance, but really he can never really fully stop you. Right? So at the end of the day, we've got to learn how to be focused. As I mentioned this on my Facebook page the other day. I said, I desire one day to have a community that responds more to logic than to raw emotion. And the reason I said that is because there are so many of us who are so emotional. We're so caught up with, and again, it's a self-esteem thing. It's a self-esteem thing. Low self-esteem is what makes you care what other people think about you because you don't think highly enough of yourself. So you need other people to tell you that you're worthy before you start to believe that you're worthy on your own. Because if you already knew it, then you wouldn't even pay attention to their opinion because you already received confirmation that you're okay who you are, right? So you can't walk into controversial space and be a controversial person if your self-esteem ain't intact because people going to hurt your feelings left and right. Do you really think that I could do what I do? Do you really think that I could get on here and say the things that I say and literally have thousands and thousands of hours of video content, information, articles I've written, etc., out here in the public eye being criticized left and right, people calling me all kinds of stuff, making up stuff about me, talking about me like a dog? I done had people tell me that I got 5 babies mamas, that I'm gay, that I love white women, and all kinds of ridiculous stuff that is not true. Do you think that I can handle that if my self-esteem was not intact? No, I would literally be a mess. I'd be on Prozac and smoking weed and drinking liquor every day while I talk to my therapist because I wouldn't be able to handle it. And I'd probably walk out of the public eye. I'd squirm out of the public eye because I'd be too ashamed to really be out here telling what I think is the truth, right? So before I was able to do any of this, I had to have a talk with myself and figure out, okay, boys, when the world hates you, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond? Where are you going to retreat? Where's your safe space? Where's your space of strength? If you can't find that, then it's very difficult to go to battle. You can't go to battle if you don't know who the hell you are. So you got to go find out who the hell you are. Tell your children who the hell they are so that when they get out here in this world and they get resistance, they're not going to buckle up like a little bitch and run away because the white man made it hard. If you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. If you'd like to check out our Black Friday bundle, where we have several films at a discount price, you can check out blackfridaybundle.com. That's blackfridaybundle.com. Also, we're selling the Black Wealth Calendar right now. We have a beautiful calendar we made with black families. Every month has a wealth building theme: credit repair month, debt reduction month, small business month, etc., as well as information and tips, wealth building tips that you can put on the refrigerator. You can check that out at theblackwealthcalendar.com. That's theblackwealthcalendar.com. There's also a class that we're teaching that goes with the calendar called My Black Wealth Year, and you can check that out when you go get the calendar. You have the option of taking the course. Please feel free to check that out. So let me finish reading more of Dr. Anderson's book. Okay, so here's what he says also about power. A true power holder can enforce its decisions and will on the less powerful by applying or threatening to apply penalties or force. Or it can elect to secure compliance to its wishes and decisions by providing or offering rewards. So that's what they call the carrot or the stick, right? Or the silver or the lead. That's what Pablo Escobar used to talk about, silver or lead. Either you take the bribe or we're going to pump you full of lead because you did not comply. That was the source of his power. The final decision on the use of any particular form of social control belongs to the power holder. Those holding power have used it effectively in organizing and controlling blacks to the benefit of the larger society. Somebody says you should start a wealth church. I think for some people that's kind of what it is, and it's all good. It can be a church. If this is your church, if I'm your pastor, that's fine. But I'm not. But at the same time, though, this is different from a regular church in the sense that if you decide to tithe to the church, it's not a tithe that will make your pastor rich while everybody stays poor. It should be a tithe where everyone benefits. So never give me your money if you don't see a benefit. So, but I will offer things for you in terms of trade. Like, for example, my book, The New Black Power. If you want to buy that, that's awesome. That's money that goes into the coffers that helps us continue our mission. But if you don't feel compelled, then that's okay too. But I just want to make sure that you get something, that you walk away not just inspired. You can be inspired. Inspiration is important, but I want you to be knowledgeable. I want you to be capable. I want you to be stronger than you were when you walked up in here. If that doesn't happen, then I have failed. I don't succeed if I only convince you to put me on a pedestal and never believe that you're nothing without me, or that somehow I'm always better than you, or that somehow your strength only lies in the fact that you're worshiping me and looking up at me and thinking I'm some kind of God. That doesn't strengthen the community. That strengthens me. No. Do I want to be strong? Absolutely. I want to be as strong as hell. But at the end of the day, strength comes from all of us being strong together. So I can strengthen you. You strengthen me. We strengthen each other. We become the most powerful force in the universe that way. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this. I got to actually get to work. I have some stuff I have to do, unfortunately. But I'll be back soon, and we're going to keep talking about this power issue because I want us to really understand what black power looks like, what it really means, so that we can understand it when we think about it and think about how we're going to execute. So if you want to check out some of our programs, please take a stop at the Black Financial Literacy, our Black Financial Literacy platform. Go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. If you want to check out the Black Friday Bundle Pack, go to blackfridaybundle.com. That's blackfridaybundle.com. If you want to get some of those flashcards for your kids and other kids in the neighborhood, you can check out financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. All right, guys, I'm about to get out of here. I'm about to go get to work. I might actually take a little break and go watch my Dallas Cowboys and see how they're doing. Looks like we're having a good season this year. So take care, everybody. And it is always an honor, always a pleasure. And I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace.